let's show you how to do the auto chop on the MV-8800. This machine right here. I obviously have the VGA expansion so that I can use a computer monitor and a mouse. So I'm going to do that, and I'll also pan down to the unit itself and show you which buttons you should be hitting. I'll try to include as much of that as possible if you do not have the VGA expansion. I highly recommend that. Computer monitor, you have all the menus right here. You use it just like you would your PC or your Mac. It just streamlines the workflow. Get into this right now. Obviously, you have your menu up here. If you wanted to use that, I'm going to show you where on the machine you would import your sample. This is assuming you have already recorded a sample into the unit or transferred it from a hard drive onto your MV-8800. In another video, I'll show you how to actually put the sample into the MV-8800, both from a PC and recording directly into the MV-8800. So that's a video for another day. But today we're going to hit import, and then that brings up your menu. It comes up to the last menu that you used. And then you could exit out of this menu by just hitting the back button or selecting a different drive. But we're going to go and we are going to pick a drum break today, because obviously chopping a drum break is very common, and it's also a very detailed waveform that it makes it a lot simpler to see where the hits actually are, where the beats are. So we're just going to, you can double click it, or you can hit the import button right here. Double click drum break. It's going to bring it up. As you can see, you've got your kicks and your snares and your hats are all in there. If you hit the preview button here, or it will be right here in the function buttons. These buttons right here, these function buttons, always match up to these here. So that's pretty simple about the MV-8800. So you can preview it here. You can obviously hear the drum break there. If you wanted to truncate it, you could do that. I almost always select normalize, just so that you get the highest level you can get without clipping. You can set your BPM bass notes on how many notes it is. So obviously you would want these to line up or close to it right there. This is 8 beats or close to 8 beats. So it's about 77.6 BPM as calculated in the MV-800. You set that up if you're going to BPM match. If you're just going to use this as a loop, and you could set it here to loop on or off. That makes it quite simple. We're not going to get into all of that as far as beat matching and all that. Maybe that's a video for another day. We're just going to show you how to quickly sample chop this, because you found a loop that you like and you just want to chop it up and use it in your own way. So you're going to hit quick assign, which again, all those buttons are going to be with the function buttons that I showed you earlier. So quick assign. You could just assign this to a phrase, which would be an audio file. You would do that if you were going to just loop it and not chop it. You could just loop that up. And that uses the audio track of your MV-8800. So if you were in pattern mode, you are only going to get one audio. And if you are using the song mode, obviously you get 4 audio tracks. And then you could also just hit assign to patch. It's going to make an instrument patch. But that's all without chopping. So we're going to hit chop. Again, brings up your waveform. Right now it's all on one pad. See, Hopefully I can get this in the video. I'm hitting that first pad. It's all on that first pad. That's why it's just one highlight, because it's on that one pad. If you hold the pad, it's going to play it out. Now, if you had selected loop and you hit that pad, it's just going to keep looping that and looping it and looping it, looping it. Now, you could manually add points. Like if you just hit add point, it's going to say no more chop numbers, close. This is the current point of the cursor. So see that green cursor there. So say you wanted to add a chop right there, you could hit add point. Now it's got that first one, and then your second one is the rest of the loop. If you wanted to clear the point, you clear the point. This video is more on the auto chop, so we're going to hit auto chop. There's different chop types. You got your level, which is going to chop this sample up based on the levels in the waveform. So you could choose what the level is, the strength of it. I'm not 100% sure on how it uses that. It's just leveled 1 through 10. It's not really based on decibels. I'm sure there's probably a chart somewhere that tells you what each level decibel it's looking for. Mine is usually on 6. So let's just say we auto chopped it using level, execute. Now it chopped it up where it sees the increase in the waveform. And it does a pretty good job of picking up each individual sound, especially in a drum break. Melodies and especially like pads or something like that, it can get a little tricky on getting the actual individual notes. But now, as you can see, you got, when you trigger them, it puts them on there, all on your different pads. And there's more than 16 here. So it would go to your next pad bank, which if you are using the MV-8800, you already know how to get to the next pad bank. I shouldn't have to show you that. So obviously some of these you're not even really going to want. So you could select them. You could select it by the pad, just hitting the pad and then hitting remove, like that one. Is that really necessary? Probably not, especially that next one right there. You might want that to hit with that snare. This one right here, you don't want that. Why would you need that? So you could clear point, and now you got it all in there. But that's how quick and simple you could chop up a drum break. It's simple as, it took way longer because I'm trying to explain it. But you just hit that auto chop and it's on level, and bang, you're there. Now say auto chop, you didn't want to choose level, you wanted to use the beat. You're going to chop it 8 times, or pick your note, how many notes you want to chop this up into. Right, your 16ths and your eighths, quarters, whatever, whole bars. Let's just put it on our quarter notes right here and hit execute. Boom. Now you've got 8 notes because it's a 2-bar loop. Basically, I mean, it might actually be a little bit short from listening to it here. So now it's chopped it up into those quarter notes. So you could chop this up and now you can play it at pretty much any BPM you wanted to while still keeping the sample sounding the same. Other option is you auto chop and you pick divide. Now you're going to tell this machine how many times you want it to chop this. So say you wanted to chop it 16 times because you got 16 pads in your first bank. So 16, it's going to divide it into 16 different pads. Simple. That's how simple it is to chop up on the MV-8800 using the auto chop. I use auto chop pretty much exclusively, and then once it does the auto chop, if I see in the waveform, I'm like, I want to move that chop point a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. I'll just do that manually. That way there, you don't have to, you're not making each slice yourself. It's saving you time, just hitting the auto chop and then just moving the ones that you want to move. It's pretty accurate. The MV-8800 is pretty accurate on doing exactly what you wanted it to do with those options, the level, the beat, or the divide. It's pretty accurate on chopping right where you wanted it to chop. There's very little editing that you have to do when you're chopping the sample. You can also zoom in on these arrows up here. Hopefully you guys can catch that where my cursor is on. These are your cursor buttons right here. Your up, down, left, and right. And then your shift button is here. So if you hold shift, and that's going to zoom in, and that's going to zoom out as far as stretch, and then up this way, that's going to, let me show you what that did. See how it made the waveform bigger? Made it much more crowded, you know. But you can see that where this cursor doesn't actually hit where you would want it to. So you're going to take your chop point, which is this one here. Let me try to get you guys back. Chop point, which is here. And then you're going to, if you have a mouse, you can use the scroll button on the mouse and just slide it. Boom. I know that that's where I want that right there. And that's pad. It always highlights the pad here to show you which sample you're editing. And now you hear that it's hitting. You also can hear at the end there's something that you don't want. See, and you can see it here in the waveform now that we've zoomed in. So we're going to scroll that. You're going to pick that next pad, and you're going to scroll that chop point back to there. Now we go back to 13. It's still a little bit. Boom. See? Clean. You don't hear that little blip at the end. Now you can do this all afterwards also. Like once you do the auto chop and you get it, save it as a patch, which I'm going to show you how to do next. You save that as a patch. When you go into you're making your beat and you come across a pad and you're like, damn, I need to change the way that hit is. It's not hitting early enough. It's going on, carrying out too late. You can just go to the quick edit, hit that pad, and go into the sample edit, and you can adjust it in there the same way you're adjusting it right here. You're going to adjust your chop point, current point, adding your chops and all that. In there, you can adjust the beginning, the end. You'll be able to adjust your resonance, the attack, all of that. That's a whole nother video. It's going to be a lot more detailed than what this is. So now you've got it all chopped up. Zoom back out. You got your whole loop here. It's all chopped up. We went through, say you went through every pad. You made sure they were all hit. You're going to just hit assign to patch. And again, same thing. The function menus are down here, right below your screen. If you're using the MV-8800 stock screen. So you're going to hit assign to patch. And now it lays it out for you as to on the pads where it would be on your MIDI keyboard if you had a MIDI keyboard controller. All right, and then you're going to tell it what part to put it in your project. So if you're going to want it on part 1, it's going to save it to that patch. Patch 1, it's empty. It's 16 pads. And right here, it tells you which one. It names each and every one of those chops. So that later on, you can go in and find those chops if you needed to edit that chop. And then you're just going to hit execute. overwrite, sure, and that's it. It's assigned to the patch, and now you could go on to another one or whatever, or just exit out. And now it's here, and then MIDI track 1, it's set to drum break. That was the name of the file, so it changes that init patch name to the name of the original sample. So it's drum break. And now if I hit the pads, boom, they're there. And see how that it doesn't play it all the way out. You'd have to hold it. That's where the quick edit, I'll show a quick edit feature right now. Quick edit brings up the partial edit screen right here on under amplifier. That this is the release. Now see, when I just hit it, it plays out that whole pad. Boom, boom, boom. And then you could do that on each one that you're going to use. It changes automatically as soon as you hit the pad. The partial edit screen, if you look here, it tells you which pad it changes. So say that snare, obviously you're going to want your snare to play the whole thing. Boom, now it's got the snare with the reverb and everything that was built into that. Boom, this isn't a beat making video. We're not going to get into making a whole beat here. But that's just a quick view of the quick edit and how you can adjust those samples. This is going to be a totally different video. We're going to break down all of this right here and then all of these screens here quickly. See the sample edit, like I told you, you could adjust where those start points, end points, and even loop points are. So don't think that when you use the auto chop feature, you are destroying the original waveform, because you're not. You can literally go in and just change those chops even after you've auto chopped. So if you made a mistake or through the project you realize, man, I really wish that I could have had the sample this way, you can have the sample that way. You just got to go into that quick edit menu and do that. But that's just a quick video on how to use the auto chop feature of the MV-8800. This is still a very useful machine in 2025. I have had an MV-8000 and an MV-8800, and I've never had a single thing break on either one of them. So with that said, well, I mean, let's knock on wood that nothing does happen, but these older units were built to last. Vintage gear is still being used today in music because of that, because they last. It feels better. And this is no knock on anybody that's doing everything in the box, because I use the box too. I have Ableton Live, I have Reaper, I have plugins. Those things are still useful. But I use the MV-8800 for the majority of the beat making process. And then I use the PC to add my effect plugins, record each individual channel of my MV-8800 out so I can track out my beats, and then do the mixing and editing and all that inside the PC. I made music for many years in the past, and then I got out of it when I had some issues in the studio and sold everything off, and I just stopped making music completely, raised my family and all that, did some other hobbies, but music is back in my life, like probably more than ever now. Music is a place that I go to decompress, and with the things that are going on in the world today, there's a lot of decompression that's needed. So there should be a lot more videos coming, as long as I'm getting the support and people are liking it. Even then, still, I'll probably still make these videos because somebody can learn something from it. So hit that like, subscribe. Peace.